Hi, it's Stephanie, and this screener is in response to, or actually just a variation of what David Fair had shown on a recent blog post, the blog post that described how to use the course's sidebar for video. And he had shown some techniques and gave some very specific steps and dimensions for how to do this. And in other words, instead of just having the normal tabs that appear on the left-hand side, he demonstrated how you can put in video, a full motion video or motion created from PowerPoint slides into this area, and how you could size them to be either the full area on the left-hand side or a portion thereof. And I really like that idea, particularly using PowerPoint to create those effects. So let me show you what I did. Here's a prototype course and a character who's going to ask his teammates for some ideas. When the user clicks the Ask button, you'll see in the upper left corner the first teammate, Sergio, begins speaking, and below is his captions. Then it spins over and Laura starts talking, and below are her captions as well. So the reason why I've sized my project the way I did here is because I do want the captions to appear nicely integrated in the side panel, so I can still have access to the rest of the course features, but also be able to see those captions and not have to go to the Notes button to do that. So I could have obviously made it larger, pushed this area down even further, but for this demo I didn't. So let me show you how I did this. My steps were very similar to David's. And he started with a slide, a brand new file, with dimensions of what he wanted in the sidebar. So under the Design tab, Page Setup, there's an option for width and height. So the width is 2.3, which is about the maximum you can make that sidebar panel, and the height in my case is 2.24, which is not the maximum, it's about half the maximum height. And you can play around with that as well, of course, but for my example, I'm just going to keep it at this height and width. And then I created a slide for each character, and then I also inserted their narration, and I just used PowerPoint to do this. So I just went to the Insert menu, Insert Audio from a file, and I grabbed the first audio clip, and then I just made sure that the playback for the audio clip was set to automatic, so that when you come to the slide, the audio automatically starts playing. And I repeated that for each one of the narration tracks, which is basically a conversation between these two people. And then I also applied transitions to each of the slides. The first one in PowerPoint 2010, which is what I'm using, I applied the ripple effect, and then I applied a cube effect. And what's cool about 2010 is that they have an awesome library of transitions that are very video-like transitions. So it's kind of worth it to get the upgrade just because of some of these transitions, and graphic abilities. In any event, it works with 2007 and 2003 as well, these steps that I'm doing here. So you just go through this, build your slides, and when you're finished, you do a preview, make sure everything's working the way you want it to, and then just save it out as a Windows media file, or media video, I guess it would be, WMV. Save it out in that format. What that will do is it'll create a full motion video clip of all your slides, of what you've just created in PowerPoint. So go ahead and do that. It takes a couple minutes for it to export that out. And then once it's done, if you have Articulate Video Encoder, then you can import the video file that you just created, this WMV file, right into Video Encoder. Now the reason why I want to do this is because I want to be able to convert it over to Flash so I can bring it into Articulate, but I also have the options of adjusting brightness, contrast, inserting logos or titles, and trimming as well. In this case, I'm not going to do any of that. I'm just going to click Publish, and then I'm publishing it to a custom size of 233 by 224 pixels, which basically matches the dimensions that I set up in PowerPoint. And then I click Publish, and an FLV file will be created. Once that's done, then I pop back over to my course, to the slide where I want that sidebar content to appear, and from Articulate, I choose Flash Movie. It will come up with the in just a second, I'll just get rid of this. It'll come up with a listing. Here's that FLV file. Open that up, and then display in presenter panel, and then I'll just say when user clicks next, and then click OK, and it embeds it right into your project, just like what you're seeing here. So when the user reaches this slide, automatically, or well, depending on the trigger, in this case it's going to be on the Ask button, which basically goes to the slide that has this content, and then the content begins playing. So just another variation. I just think it's really cool to be able to utilize PowerPoint to create these kinds of video flash effects.